Okay. This is a good one that I'm going to share. Cause it's so funny. I just like I go through the process questions on the chat thing, chat GDP. It was so funny that like having to know most of the dang answers. But I'm gonna tell you why it's still stuck with me and why professors like active listening rather than passive. Here it goes. And before I say anything else, if you're my past professor, what in the world? Yeah, I'm coming on there to tell all of you that just to make sure of it. Okay, on with my discussion. Because when I was in college, and this was like an issue, that's what my story's going to be based off of. I find that the professors, and this can go for any university, that if you got hard classes, this is the tips that is going to help you pass and make better understanding of the material or what's going on in your classes. First of all, I remembered, and this is from my own experience, having to take a biology class in my first semester, and I totally bombed the first test. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know I had to read the entire chapter before classes. So, in a way, it didn't start out well for that first one. I had to go through something called withdrawing. You know, withdrawal in a college situation, if you are doing poorly in the class, you can have a W, by the way. As long as you have enough classes to that you can meet with your financial aid, you can still have a W. It still not hurt your grades. As long as you keep the grades stronger on the other courses, it won't really matter as much. So that what happened to me that first semester. And I tell you one thing, knowing what I know now, after taking later classes that involved reading, and you know who I'm talking about from NSU in the music department that teaches music history. Okay, yeah, and I had a few of the other classes that required some reading as well. Oh yeah, but I just chose to talk about the Doctor Beloved Saint Marie for the first part of this, and pretty much the whole thing. I choose him. Because let me tell you how he had his classes set up. And 10 to 1, if you're taking a music history class right now, chances are it's going to be a little bit, but I'll tell you one thing. His classes are not that hard, guys. As long as you're on top of the readings, you are participating actively. Means taking notes, recording notes, um, taking pictures of the slides that he talks about, asking questions, asking for dang help. Oh yeah, let me tell you about his dang exams. Okay, sometimes his exams are like as what you're reading, it, like things on the reading, the chapters themselves, his discussions right off the bat. And if you had listening on those tests, chances are it's gonna pop up. So don't study those darn listenings at the very last minute. Study those ahead of time. Means like the first he talks about them, that's the first you should be listening to them. Point blank. Stories. Stories is a must for the saint. Because channel 1, when he talks about something, and it's a story situation, you better pay attention, because I tell you one thing, he's gonna have those questions appear so much later in the on the exam, so you have to pay attention. And the way his class ones on the most part, if I remember, they were based on points. You had to have so many points, and it's on the dang syllabus. Oh yeah, that's another thing. But let me tell you how the readings were in that class. You must, if you want to have a good grade and understand, and you want to ask proper questions towards that professor, read the chapter before your classes. Yeah, if you hear read the chapter before classes, you'll thank me later. Because I'll tell you why. Because once you do the reading, because this is the way he set it up for everybody that he's taught, including me. He had those readings due right before the class starts. That since his class met 3 times a week, and so you got a reading due right before class. I mean, you had to have had that son of a gun done. And I'll tell you one thing, each thing you do is worth a certain amount of points. You best take this advice very seriously. And 2, okay. Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing, if you're on top of the readings, you're on top of the exams. But if you miss an exam, you better make it up. So I'll tell you one thing, nobody wants a 0 on those things for not taking it. It could drop your grade significantly. So no, you don't want to miss that. If you miss the exam, bring a doctor's note and talk this out with him. And this goes for any professor, right there, right off the bat. That rule right there, that separates everything. And let me tell you about the major points on that one and how, and also the fact, the very important point of this and why Dr. St. Marie loves people when they're on top of their work is they turning things in on time. Like, because he has it on his syllabus, and I know he still does now, and I don't think it's ever changed, probably since I had him, and probably since I left Nichols and graduated. He had every due date imaginable on that syllabus. Yeah, what in the world? I'm getting on yet the future classmates since. And I tell you one thing was so funny. I had to write a letter to a future classmate on one of these. There's a bonus points, and the bonus points, it's like you do take them. If you want to have the bonus points to bump your grade up, take them. It's gonna make a difference, honey bunch. And I had to write how easy the class was, how the class was structured, every little thing imaginable I could say about him. I bet he had a joyous day reading that one. That's right, I'm just talking about that. But the biggest thing you have to do, and I think it's Music 340, 341, and I think that's the major part, is your research stuff. I mean, research mean your annotated bibliography. I know that's worth some points there. Your outline, that's a major component of your grade. And from the outline, you have to create a PowerPoint slide and your paper. That is a major component of your grade. That's going to help you really see where you are, you know. And if you do all those things, and I know he has them in Chicago manual style, and I'm pretty sure in the first semester he's going to teach you about the thing called footnotes. Yes, right, footnotes. But I'm glad he did teach it. So that way I can come on here and say however it is. And if you want to make it an A in that class, and I'll tell you one thing, if you do all the work, you should be able to do that high of a grade. I did high for both of those classes. Around the 90. So yeah. circles around an A. Even even so, and you never know. Sometimes if let's say you're closest to the grade, he might bump it up. Who knows? So yeah, take my advice. So don't be passively participating in the classes like this. Be active in your participation. Show the professors that you care about your studies. And that's why things like this, and especially what I'm going through right now with the trying to take the praxis and trying to study, and it does make it a lot easier. It does. You should try it. Because one of those things that will stick for a very long time. And that just not goes for him. That goes for everybody universally all across the planet. Even your theory teachers, your piano teachers, everybody that, and even the lesson teacher too. Because let me say this. Anything you learn in your theory classes is going to really, haunt you for the rest of your life. You're going to hear this in piano. You're going to hear this in solfege. You're going to especially hear it in your lessons and anywhere it's applicable to. So yeah, I'm talking about the rest of the guys too, like Dr. Swihart, Dr. Miranda, Dr. Jarrett, and a few others down the line, and also Dr. Sue. They all had the little thing too about where things do apply. So see you later.